I was born on November 10th, 1980, and this is my first home. My parents told me that one of the reasons that we left is because the place was haunted. I don't know about that. We moved into a house around the corner with a little white picket fence. I was still a baby and I had this habit of banging my head against floors and walls. My parents couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. One morning when my dad left for work, I got angry. I walked up to the sliding glass door in the back porch and I smashed my head through it. My mom had to take me to the hospital. My parents eventually figured out the reason why I was getting so angry is because I couldn't see, so when they were out of my sight I would bang my head into things. My eyes are so bad that without glasses or contacts I'm legally blind. My parents eventually got me glasses, which solved one problem but led to a whole other problem, which was me getting picked on. Pretty soon I'd become a big brother. We would move to the house that I would grow up in. I would also begin to face the challenges of grade school. Kids weren't very nice to me because of my glasses, and to make matters worse, I would develop a limp. I still tried to be a normal kid, and I met some of my best friends back then. Junior high wasn't much easier. I still wore the glasses in 7th grade, which even led to a couple of fistfights. In 8th grade, my mom thought it would help me to get contacts. Because of my prescription, I was forced to wear hard lenses. With hard contacts, you have to build up a callus on your eyelids. It's extremely painful, so when I was going through this I had to either squint all the time or keep my eyes wide open. This caused the bullying to get even worse. I'd make it to high school, and all things considered I was a pretty good student. I would spend a year at St. John's, but eventually I would transfer over to Bowser to be with my friends. My eyes would still be a source of some problems, but I was happy there. During high school, my parents started to have some problems, and when I was 17, my parents actually split up. I didn't see them fight all that often, but I do remember hearing them. My mom would eventually move out of the house to a duplex just down the street. Around the same time, I would actually meet my first love. I would eventually follow her to the University of Cincinnati. My parents and I would fight quite a bit, so I would seek refuge with my friends and my girlfriend. When I went to Cincinnati, I didn't really see my parents much, but they would call me and tell me about how they weren't getting along. While all this was going on, my girlfriend ended up breaking up with me on Christmas Eve. At that point, I knew there was nothing left for me there at Cincinnati, and it was time to come home to Toledo. When I came home, I went to UT and I worked a few different jobs. I would bounce back and forth between my dad's place and Eric and my mom's new place. I remember one morning on the way to work, I heard the news that 2 planes had hit the Twin Towers. We watched as they fell, and I sat terrified. My friend had just enlisted in the Marines. I was 20 and afraid I'd be sent to war. For a long time I was an absolute wreck, and it didn't help that shortly thereafter my girlfriend broke up with me. In early 2002, I moved into an apartment with one of my best friends. It was here where I would get the phone call from my mom telling me that she had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She told me her odds, and I was absolutely devastated. I can't thank my friend enough for the support that he gave me. I don't know if I could have gotten through it without him. When our lease was up, I quit my job and moved back with my mom. I had a really hard time watching her go through her chemo treatments and seeing her suffer, and I'll always feel some sort of guilt for avoiding her and not being around her as much as I should have been. I would spend a lot of my time over at my dad's house, but my mom did eventually go into remission. I eventually moved out with a girlfriend of mine who got really close to my mom. While living with her, I saw my mom's health decline again, and she actually fell into a coma, but the doctors said it was from something that was similar to the West Nile virus. She came out of the coma and got a little bit better, but we actually saw her health decline again pretty soon. My girlfriend and I would break up in August of 2006. I moved into an apartment by myself. That November, my mom went back in the hospital. She went into a coma again, but this time because of the cancer. The doctors thought she may not come out of it, so we had a family meeting to determine whether or not we should sign a do not resuscitate. As next of kin, the decision was down to me, so I told the family that I had overheard my mom tell my aunt that she just didn't want to fight anymore. Fortunately, my mom came out of the coma and was able to actually sign her own DNR. On December 4th, 2006, I sat by my mom's bed. Her room was on the third floor, second from the right, back in the corner. I remember seeing the Christmas tree lights on top of the hospital and watched as she pulled herself up in bed. I gave her some words of encouragement and a kiss before I left and told her I'd see her in 2 days. She would die the morning of December 6th before I would get a chance to see her again. I spoke at the funeral even though I was feeling incredibly guilty and heartbroken. A couple months went by and I met this really incredible girl who encouraged me to go back to school. She helped me get through a lot of my mourning as well. I became a film major, and a lot of people thought it was completely insane for somebody as blind as a bat to try and make movies. Just last year I bought a house that I think my mom would be proud of, and I think I'm pretty damn good at what I do, too. I can see right now that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. A person isn't defined by where they've been, and I understand that now. You're defined by what you did while you were there. These are some of the things that I've seen, and these are some of the places that I've been. And this is the first time that I've seen my mother's grave since her funeral. I don't know if I'll ever get over it, but I'd like to think I'm moving on.